Michael, John Tortorella officially out from the Philadelphia Flyers. He was fired Thursday morning, although depending on who you ask, I think a lot of people would say really he fired himself based on the comments he made after their loss to the Maple Leafs. Brad Shaw is going to be stepping in as interim head coach in Philadelphia for now. It was Tortorella's third season with the team, and they're still rebuilding, and that was understood, but they clearly weren't trending in the right direction, at least not to his liking. So when we talked about this earlier this week, actually, when we were talking about Rick Tocchet and his future in Vancouver, does this sort of clear the way, do you think, for Tocchet to become the next head coach in Philadelphia, or what do you kind of see happening there?
First of all, if you're going to make a comment like that, don't make it in Toronto, because it will just gather a momentum and a life of its own. I get the feeling he fired himself, although by them firing him, he gets to collect $4 million on his contract next year. I've looked at the Philadelphia situation and thought that it was a wrong fit from the word go, because Danny Briere, when he came in as general manager, said rebuild, the R word. And the R word does not belong with John Tortorella. John Tortorella wants to win. So the first thing that Danny Briere should have done, and maybe he didn't have the power to do it when he got hired as general manager, was fire John Tortorella. Because if you want to rebuild and you want to finish in the top 5 and get franchise cornerstones, he's going to work against you because he wants to win. And last year they were in the playoffs until the beginning of April and then trailed off because they overachieved. This year, I think they sort of resorted back to the norm because they have large gaps in their lineup, and they didn't have their number one goaltender in Carter Hart for obvious reasons. So, it's a situation where now Bradshaw comes in, finishes off the season. I seriously doubt he's going to be considered as the heir apparent. They'll do a search, but depending on the situation in Vancouver with Tocchet, like we discussed earlier in the week, if he decides he wants to go someplace else after everything that happened with JT Miller and Elias Pettersson in Vancouver, I would think he's the leading candidate to go and be the head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers.